Good morning, everyone. Starting shortly. We're waiting for a couple of more people to arrive. But welcome already to our session. We'll be tackling the topics of transfer and communication and capitalization today. Let's see, should we start? So just maybe some rules for today in terms of how we're going to proceed with this event. So you might have seen that your camera and mics have been switched off, and we'll be taking the questions through the Q&A box that is directly included in WebEx. If you look at your screen at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you have a little icon with a question mark. So this is where we'll be taking the questions for today Q&A. We'll also be using Slido, so if you have your phone, I would recommend you have your phone nearby so that you are ready to use it when we show the QR code and the question on the screen. So today we'll be joined by Amélie Cousin, who is the head of unit in communication and capitalization. Myself, Catherine McCarron, who is a project officer at the Secretariat. And later on, at the end of our presentations, we'll be joined by Camille de Gries, who is a project officer who will help us tackle all the other questions you might have regarding this first call for proposal. As I said, this is the third online Q&A. So we had the first one related to the topic of the first call for proposal, so new European Bauhaus. We also talked about intervention logic and application form. And then we had a second online Q&A about everything related to finance topics, so eligibility, how to develop your budget, etc. And both of these online Q&A have been recorded and are available online. So you received the link yesterday, but don't hesitate to have a look if you haven't been able to attend these online Q&A. Similarly, this Q&A is recorded and will be available later on. So don't worry if you don't have time to take notes or anything, you will be able to catch up with the content later on. Okay, so I think it is time to get your phones if you have them and scan the QR code, or you can also join Slido through your browser. You have the code of the event and the password. And maybe today you can tell us where you are, so we know a bit where our audience is from. Today we're in Lille. It is sunny, but it's really cold. I think it was like -3 this morning. I don't know if some of you have already been to the Secretariat, but we're like overlooking the station, and the rail tracks are like, there's like frost bits on the rail tracks. It's really cold, but it's like a nice winter day. So we've got people from Mechelen, Belgium, Italy, France, not very far from us, Vienna. We were in Vienna. We had an applicant seminar in Vienna recently, Brussels as well. Lots of different cities. Italy, Portugal, Spain, Greece, Latvia.
Germany as well.
Ooh, then like Alba, Julia,
Greece,
just like
yeah.
a lot of people from there, I guess. Very diverse audience. So, okay, that's really interesting. Should we move to the next question?
Sure. Now we would like to know how you are familiar with the concept of transfer and with project communication. So the two topics for today's online Q&A session. The concept of transfer is new, so you're certainly, I would say, less familiar with it. So feel free to respond to this question. It helps us to know a bit the knowledge that you have on these two topics and adjust potentially our messages also. So it seems that you are quite familiar. I mean, majority of you seems to be quite familiar. with the concept, which is good. How many respondents we have?
We've got 37 responses,
Okay.
nearly 40.
Yeah.
To move to the next one.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for your answers. And then maybe one question that can help you adapt our presentation. What are your expectations from today Q&A sessions? Is it specific questions on transfer, how you can find partners? Is it more related to the communication aspect, or are you more interested in like the open Q&A? So you might have seen on the agenda, we'll tackle transfer, then during our presentation, and then we will open the questions to any other related topic that can be of interest within the framework of the first call. Maybe actually one thing I should have mentioned, when you're addressing your question, try to make sure that they are relevant for a wide audience so that they can be of interest for anyone. If you have very specific questions, we can also answer them like through our mailbox. So explanation about transfer, the budget.
How to find partners.
Okay, that we will tackle. Just more precise. What is important for this call? Okay, transfer expectations.
Clarity on rules.
Okay.
Seems to be very much focused on transfer, but which is totally understandable, having in mind that it's a really new component for innovative actions.
That's the transfer platform. We'll show you, we'll share the screen with the transfer platform during the presentation, so that's good. Okay, well, hope we can address these expectations during our presentation. So maybe we can start shortly. Right. So the first topic that we'll address today is the transfer. I mean, it seems that there is quite a lot of expectations. So it's completely, as Emily said, it's completely normal. This is new. It was not under UIA. We had a transfer component that was done in cooperation with URBACT. It has been said, it was really useful. So basically the idea is now we can embed this transfer component directly within the project, within the UIA project. Why are we doing this? Well, it's on one hand to ensure that the solution that is being developed by our project can be adapted and transferred to other cities in Europe. So we want to increase the adaptability and transferability of this solution. But we also want to make sure that other cities in Europe are able to benefit from the UIA project. So the EUI project, sorry. So the idea is by being a transfer partners, these cities will be able to increase their own potential and their capacity to transfer the solution. At the selection stage, we don't expect applicants to be able to say exactly who are going to be the different transfer cities. There will be a transfer work package developed, but basically what you need to build is the narrative around how your solution can be of interest to other cities and to other type of urban areas across Europe, and which kind of urban areas could be potential transfer partners. So it can be cities who have a post-industrial area to develop. It can be cities who are prone to flooding and need to tackle this issue. So what is the link? What is the coherence between the different cities, and what kind of cities are you looking for? So we don't expect you to name the exact city you will be working with at application stage. So as I said, it will be completely embedded in the new UIA, EUI, sorry, I'm going to do this all the time, EUI project proposal. Basically, you will be asked to develop a transfer work package, and within this transfer work package, you will have a transfer partnership. 3 cities from other member states in Europe will join your project. They have to come from diverse areas. So if we count that, we've got the main urban authority, who is like the lead partner, plus the 3 transfer cities. It makes 4 cities involved in the transfer partnership. And 2 of these have to come from less developed or transition regions. So we have like a balance. With this work package, you will also have a budget for each transfer city. It will be paid as a lump sum, so you won't have to declare real costs. And it will be a lump sum of 150,000 euros per city. This is like as a total eligible budget. So your ERDF budget, which is 80%, will correspond to 120,000 euros. The idea of this transfer partnership is that it should go like both ways. So the MUA is going to help the transfer partners to follow the implementation of the proposal, to understand what have been the challenges and how they address them. But the idea is that also the transfer partners can help the MUA by suggesting how to better frame and better develop the project, or also like kind of act as a critical friend. So yeah, the idea is really that it goes, it's like multi-directional exchanges, basically. In terms of project phases, the transfer, so on the screen, you can see like the project timeline with at the start, the project preparation, the initiation phase, which comes after approval, and then the implementation that is going to last 3.5 years. During the 3.5 years, you will be focused on the delivery of the different thematic work packages. And the transfer work packages, which is at the bottom in orange, you can see that it only starts 12 months after the start of your project proposal. And this is when you will be able to further develop your projects and really implement the transfer activities towards the end. So when you have already started working in the implementation of your activities. Another important element to have in mind, as we said at the start, we don't need to have the exact name of the cities who will be involved as your transfer partners. However, you have to start like thinking about what kind of urban areas you're looking for. And during the initiation phase, you will have to say exactly who they are and be able to name them. Transfer partners will have to sign the partnership agreement. And basically at the end of the initiation phase, we will need to make sure that either they have been able to sign the partnership agreement, or at least that we have a letter of intent from transfer cities. And then during the first 12 months of the project implementation, you will be able to fine-tune your transfer activities with your transfer partners before the start of the transfer work package, like after the first year. We can go back to this if you have any questions on the timeline. So in your transfer work package, basically you will have 3 set activities. As in other all work packages, you will also be able to add another one based on that you can define with your transfer partners when you have them. But at least we have 3 that have been identified as key ones for the success of the transfer work package. The first one is about the coordination of the partnership, basically. So it's everything linked to the management and the organization of the work package. The second one is everything related to knowledge exchange and peer learning, peer-to-peer learning. So it will be activities such as the site visits that you're going to organize, the workshops, the peer review activities, or any other activities that might be useful for you within the transfer activities. And the last activity is basically the formulation of the transfer framework. So basically there is a set of outputs to be developed within this work package, and this last activity is really about developing and drafting these outputs. So, and what are the expected deliverables? So basically there are 3 mandatory ones, some that are related to the transfer cities and 1 for the main urban authority. So for each transfer city, we expect to have a transfer capacity survey. So basically this will be a short survey that will have to be done once at the start of the work package and 1 at the end, to basically see to which extent the city is ready or not to transfer the solution that has been proposed in the proposal. And then there is another deliverable, which is a feasibility and opportunity study related to the transfer of the solution. So to which extent the solution can be transferred, what are the barriers, are these like financial barriers, legal barriers, what kind of funding stream can be identified to transfer the solution, etc. And each transfer cities will have to develop these deliverables. And then there is one deliverable that is for the main urban authority, so the one leading the project, which is the innovative solution model. Basically, it will be a document to develop at the end of the implementation to kind of reflect on what has been happening and to kind of give orientations to other cities who would be willing to implement the solution. But not only for transfer cities. It basically, the idea is that it can be relevant for any other city in Europe. So we saw that we had a lot of questions on the transfer partner platform. So we're going to share the screen right now of the platform, and we can show you basically what it is. The idea is that a lot of cities are working on proposal at the moment, and they're looking for transfer partners. So the idea is that we can use this to as a contact, like you can create a group of discussions and you can then decide whether or not you want to join a specific project proposal or let's see. So this is our website. So if you go into look for funding, then you have, this is where you can see, yes, the transfer platform, the transfer partner platform, sorry. And then if you go on the platform itself, you have to create a login. And then you have basically two sections. So if yourself, you are a main urban authority and you're looking for transfer partners, you can go into the section project ideas. Is that correct?
Transfer partners.
Transfer partners. If you're a main urban authority and you're looking for transfer partners, you go in the section transfer partners and you have all the cities who are potentially interested in becoming a transfer partner. And then you can contact them and see what kind of topics they would be interesting, which kind of activities they would like to implement to see whether or not this could be relevant. You can show maybe, here you have the list of cities who are already registered on the platform. And if yourself, you're a city and you would like to join an existing consortium or project idea, then you go into the other tab looking for project ideas, and here you'll see the different main urban authorities who have listed their project ideas, and you can have a look and see which one you would be interested in joining. Okay, that's I think that's it for our presentation, and we can now open the questions that you might have regarding transfer. So if you have any questions, you use the Q&A tool on WebEx, which is that basically it's a little question mark icon, and then our colleagues are going to share it. So the first question, so that it's about, is there a minimum number of inhabitants regarding cities that can be transfer partners? So indeed, to become a city in a proposal, there are eligibility criteria, and one of them is linked to the number of inhabitants, but it is not the case for transfer partner. So any cities who would be interested and can apply and to be a transfer partner. Of course, it has to be like, as we said, the characteristic of the cities have to be in line with the challenge that the proposal is trying to tackle. So, but there is no minimum requirement number of inhabitants. So then there is, can you elaborate on the expected characteristic of the transfer partners? How different should they be? Again, it really depends of what your project is trying to tackle. So the idea is that we have a variety of cities so that the partnership is able to think about how the solution needs to be adapted to fit as many cities as possible across Europe. So at the same big cities, but also smaller cities who don't have the same challenges. So it really depends also on your proposal, basically, and what you want to tackle. Then we had a question on the budget. So as we said, we have a lump sum of 150,000 euros. How can they make use of the budget? So basically, this budget is here to support your travel costs, staff costs, but also like all the activities that can be related to drafting your opportunity and feasibility and opportunity study. So it can be like additional studies like legal expertise or technical expertise, small environmental impact assessment that can help you to be ready to implement the solution later on. And it's a lump sum, so you won't have to declare the cost in the platform. You will receive it in several batches, but like without having to submit the costs. So then there's a similar question on the budget related to cost categories. Again, it's not, there is no need to use like flat rate options. You won't be claiming the cost and indicating them and reporting them in the different cost category and the different budget lines. It will be a lump sum. So this is not something that transfer partners have to worry about. So can an applicant city participate as a transfer party in another proposal? Yes and no. Basically, a city can only receive funding from UIA once within the framework of the call for proposal. So if you are willing to propose a EUI project, and then that your project gets approved, then you won't be able to be a transfer partner in another proposal. However, it is possible that you kind of start discussing with other cities who are working on proposals in case your project proposal is not approved, and you would like to be a transfer partner. This is possible. However, make sure that it is justified, that your presence in the transfer partnership is relevant, because if you start applying in like 10 different transfer partnership, it might look a bit weird, and that basically you just want to be a transfer partners without real interest for the solution that is being proposed. So I would recommend to do this wisely. So you can apply to different transfer partnerships. You can also be at the same time apply as a main urban authority and as a transfer partner, but just make sure that it looks justified and coherent. What are the criteria defining less developed or in transition region? So this is the European Commission is in charge of defining what are the regions that are considered as developed, in transition, or less developed. And this is information that you can find on our website. So is it possible to involve cross-border twin cities as transfer partner? So I'm not sure if that would mean that the two cities are considered as one partner. In theory, I mean, you are able to have, if it's two cities that are on one side of the borders and then the other city is on the other side, I mean, it's not a problem because they need to be from two different member states. So if that's the case, that's fine. However, I assume that it means that they probably have a similar level of development. So to be checked again if they're in region that are of the same development, who are considered as, you know, either both in development or in transition, etc. Why not just make sure that it is justified why you're really focusing on these two in this area of Europe, because then I guess it will be less diverse than if you were going like on the other side of Europe. So we have a question: having all transfer partners identified and committed to the project already in the application form is required, or something positively assessed? So this is not something that is required. We just want to know why you believe your solution is interesting for other areas in Europe, and to which extent it can be transferred to other areas. And then we want to know what type of urban areas you would be looking for as transfer partners, but you don't need to identify them clearly. It's not something that will be to positively assess. So if you have the exact names of who will be your transfer partners, you won't get more points because we just said that it is not something required. So we can't really also give you an advantage because you're going above this. So, I mean, if you know already, of course, indicate it. But yeah, that's all we require is to know which kind of urban areas and how you're going to select them. Maybe something that is worth stressing is that the main urban authority will be the only organization responsible for the selection of transfer partners, will be able to help, we've set up the platform to kind of ensure that cities can network and discuss between them. But it's the main urban authority who will have the responsibility to select the transfer partners. In case transfer partners are already identified at the preparation stage, should we provide a letter of intent? It's not required. You can do this. You're able to provide annexes in your application form, but it's really up to you. You will have to do so at the initiation stage, either a letter of intent or already signing the partnership agreement if you have had time to do it. So really up to you. You can do it, but it's not required. Again, we won't give more points because you were able to identify which cities will be your transfer partners. So transfer cities need to be identified before the end of the initiation stage, and then their involvement in the activities will only start after 12 months of implementation. Then there was another question. Can you elaborate more on the transferability idea? Do we transfer best practices, outcomes, or methods? Here, I think it really depends of what are you working on and what your project idea is on. If the key innovation is something very technical, like an investment, I guess the idea would be to replicate this investment in another local authority. If your innovative solution is more based around working methods or processes, then this is what you will be looking for transfer. But the idea is that what we want to transfer is the innovative solution, the key selling point of your project. And this is where the transferability should focus on. We do not have a template for the letter of intent, but if there is a need for this, maybe this is something we can work on. Okay, that's already, we've already had a lot of questions. I don't know, I think we tackled a wide range of topics. Okay, maybe another question. Is it the main urban authority who decide how to use the budget given to the transfer partners? This is something that you will have to discuss within your partnership and come up to an agreement together. So the main urban authority can be part of the discussions, but the transfer partners also have their say in terms of how the budget will be used for. Should we take one last question and then we move to communication and knowledge? If we have one, I think in terms of timing, this is also less what we said. Is it possible to have an ad hoc expert to support the transfer cooperation process? I think this is a good question to move on to the knowledge and yeah, a good transition. So maybe I'll let Amelie answer this during your presentation because yes, there will be some form of expertise provided to help the transfer activities. Maybe we can go back to the presentation. And okay, we've got okay, you can.
Okay,
Perfect.
so good
Thanks.
morning, everyone. So yeah, the question on the expert was a good transition to this part of the session. Indeed, we just talked about transfer, which is a key component of innovative action projects, and this component is really very connected to capitalization of knowledge, but also to communication. It's indeed essential that innovative action projects make sure that all the knowledge generated during the implementation of the project is transferred to and also used by transfer partners, but also by a wider audience of urban practitioners sorry, in Europe. Similarly, communication is a key component because it's really a main driver also for change and innovation. So let me just give you an insight on the key requirements for communication and capitalization. Effective communication must indeed be an important part of the innovative action project. It's one of the key factors for the success of your project and also for a positive impact on its target audiences. So we really expect you that you treat actually communication as an integral part of the project, as a strategic tool that will actively contribute to the project objective. And it's also a key requirement in terms of communication. I mean, the other key requirement in terms of communication is that the projects are co-financed by public funds, and therefore they must acknowledge this funding source. So it's about EU law, it's about the related regulation on publicity. That said, that the beneficiaries' obligations with regard to information and communication measures for the public. Just let me give you a simple example. You must provide information on the project on its official website, but also on social media channels. The project should provide a short description. Sorry, I clear my voice. Also its aims and results, and highlight the fact that they are receiving support from the EU, from the ERDF, the European Regional Development Fund. Capitalization of knowledge is another key aspect of innovative action projects. It's very, very important that, as I was saying, that the knowledge generated by the project during its implementation is disseminated and transferred to a wider audience across Europe. And this can be done through dedicated capitalization activities. When we talk about capitalization, we refer actually to the mechanism that facilitates an effective process of the knowledge transfer and also the reuse of good practices. With capitalization activities, we also refer to the environment and the opportunities that needs to be created for capturing, but also sharing and upscaling the innovative actions. And the experiments that you will implement on the ground. So capturing, sharing, upscaling innovative actions are really key objectives for us, for the European Urban Initiative. And this really needs to be reflected in your innovative action proposals. What we mainly expect here in terms of capitalization activities is your participation, but also your contributions to the ones that will be organized at the initiative level by the European the Urban Initiative under what we call the second pillar of the initiative, which is about capacity building and knowledge sharing. It can also obviously cover any own capitalization and dissemination activities of the innovative action project, and can be, for instance, like dissemination of this knowledge through the participation to thematic conferences. So let's continue on capitalization and knowledge transfer. And more specifically, I would like to tell you a bit more about the mechanism for the knowledge to be captured and also transferred. So it's also linked with the question that we received earlier. To support actually the process of capturing and the process of sharing the knowledge with other policymakers and practitioners in Europe, the selected projects will receive actually the assistance of what we call an external EY experts. In few words, the experts, these EY experts, will assist innovative action projects with first some advice and guidance on the project and its implementation, and especially with regard to the innovative content. The experts will also assist the project and the main urban authority in the development of all the project documentation and output that will capture the knowledge coming from the implementation of the project and also disseminate the achievements of the project. And the third key task for the EY experts is to participate and also to contribute to capitalization and dissemination activities under the second pillar of the EY. So it's also assisting, the main urban authority into the contribution of capitalization or activities that we will organize at our level. What's really important to note here is that the costs related to EY experts, including their travel and accommodation, are directly covered by us, by the secretariats. Therefore, no budget should be foreseen on your side for EY experts that are guiding, advising, and assisting the innovative action projects. Now going back to communication, let's talk about the main principles you must consider when you are developing your innovative action projects. The first one is about participation and co-creation. There are two very important aspects of the innovative action project, and therefore the communication strategy, but also all related activities should include and consider the wider group of stakeholders, so the citizens and all the social and economic stakeholders. Another key aspect to take into account when developing your application is that internal and external communication are really two different elements. Internal communication is part of the management of your project. It ensures the project coordination, also the good flow of information. However, here and within this work package, we would like you to develop all the communication activities toward the outside world and all the external stakeholders. The third principle for communication is to allocate sufficient time and sufficient resources as well to the project communication from the very start. Each project is required to develop its own communication strategy, also its own communication and capitalization activities through the work package communication and capitalization, and then adequate resources should be foreseen to implement these activities. With resources, we are not talking only about budget, about money, but also about person, staff, because we really would like to have someone who is responsible for communication inside the project. This is a key recommendation that we can give you today, and coming also from past experience, it's key for the success of the project and key for the success of for the delivery of the communication activities. You also need to know that a common brand, and you may have seen it already, we have developed a common brand identity for EUI, for the European Urban Initiative. So in order to save costs, but also time, we really would like you to use it. And obviously all templates and guidelines will be provided to the selected projects. It doesn't mean that you can't develop your own project visual identity. This is something you can do, but it needs to be clearly justified in the application form. And this visual identity must give also visibility to the European Urban Initiative identity in the promotional materials. We will now have a look to how we see communication strategy for innovative action projects and our expectation for such strategy. So when you will define your communication objectives, one key tips is to make sure that they are really goal-driven and that they help to deliver the specific project objective. We really expect this communication objective to be clear, to be brief, and to be concise. With regard to the target groups, they need also to be well-defined to really ensure the success of the communication activities. So for instance, let's just give you an example. Policymakers is not a really well-defined target groups. Policymakers dealing with education, for instance, or public transport authority are much more effective. So really think about the different target groups and their exact definition. Note also that communication shall be mainly undertaken in the local language. Obviously, when you're not targeting other EU cities and urban practitioners, but the majority of your communication will be undertaken in the local language, in your local language. With regard to the activities, in order to define them, I recommend that you respond to the question, what's the most efficient way to reach and also to communicate with and to each of the target groups? So the activities that you will plan must be really consistent and interconnected with your project activities. With regard to the budget for communication, it needs to be defined indeed at the application stage. For instance, if the project chooses to contract external experts on for certain communication activities, it should be reflected in the external expertise and services cost category. A last word on evaluation of the COM strategy. It's indeed very important to put in place the necessary tools, but also the key performance indicators to measure the efficiency, but also the effectiveness of the communication activities. So they should be described during the elaboration of the communication strategy and not at the application stage, obviously. I'd like to conclude my presentation with a focus on the work package per se for communication and capitalization. So the communication and capitalization work package actually define a set of mandatory activities, but also deliverables. You can find the description and the definition of these activities and deliverables in the guidance. The first predefined activities is what we call the kickoff activities. And this relates to the development of the communication strategy, but also to the organization of a kickoff event or meeting, which is really mandatory. Also, the second type of activities, which is predefined, is about promotional and informational activities, and this include the setup, but also the delivery of digital communication. So, for instance, newsletter, but also social media accounts related to the project. It's about the production of promotional material, of any also publication that explain the objective of the project. So it can be news articles, it can be a poster, it can be infographics or specific videos that will be used during the full project's lifetime. The third predefined activity is about capitalization and dissemination. And as I said earlier, it really relates to your participation and contribution to the knowledge-related activities that we will organize. So it will be knowledge capitalization activities like thematic policy labs. It can be also for capacity building activities. So any knowledge activity that will be undertaken at the initiative level. So foresee staff costs, for instance, or travel and accommodation cost as well in terms of budgets. It can also be, indeed, as I was saying, your own activities with regard to capitalization and dissemination. The last predefined activity is what we call the final closing and dissemination activity of a project. And this aims to really showcase the main results and also the main achievements of the project, and to really mark the end of the implementation stage. So it can be like an event or any other relevant activity that would mark this the finalization of your project. As I was saying, you will find everything about those activities and deliverables in the guidance, so feel free to have a look to it. It's quite well defined. I think it's now time for questions, so don't be shy. This is the only opportunity for you to get, direct answer on this particular topic, and from us in this last run, I would say, before the closing of the call and the deadline for applying. So we have a first question, which is about how the EY experts will be selected, and if they can be proposed by the MUA among the experts who support to define the work package transfers. So there's, two questions in one. How the external experts for knowledge are selected? They are selected through a public call for applications. And we are at the secretariat level processing with the assessment of all applications. We also provide short lists of the experts to the MUA, Main Urban Authority, and we organize interviews together with the Main Urban Authority to select the experts in order to make sure that the needs in terms of assistance, in terms of guidance, in terms of advice of the Main Urban Authority is also matching with the profile of the experts and what the experts can bring to the city. So it's a public call. But obviously the Main Urban Authorities are involved in the process for selection. Can they be proposed by the MUA among the experts? So how to answer to that? I mean, it's not that they can be proposed, but obviously any expert who supported the Main Urban Authority can apply to the call. And depending on the profile, depending on also the criteria for selection that we will set into the call, this expert can be shortlisted and selected or not. So, but obviously we already had the case also in previous UIA projects that cities were interested with one a particular expert, and this expert was able to obviously apply to the call and participate to the interviews. But as I'm saying, it's a public call open to everybody, and we are not how to say pre-selecting the experts on the basis that they have been working with the city previously, but we are really we really base our the selection process on a fair and transparent criteria that will be set in the call. Sorry, I took a bit.
Just maybe on the transfer. The expert who will be part of the transfer, who will be supporting transfer activities, will be the same. Basically, yes. It's like one expert who will follow the city over the entire course of the project.
And they will provide assistance also to develop the transfer activities and to implement the transfer work package. Yes, indeed, it's a good additional information to share. Participation and co-creation activities should be within the work package communication and capitalization and can be part of the thematic work package. Those activities are part of the thematic work packages, so should not be part per se of the work package on communication and capitalization. But we need to see, the interconnections between these activities and the communication activities as well. Also, especially also with regard to the fact that the wider group of stakeholders needs to be taken into account also for communication activities. So this is the two questions I think I have. Oh no, there is others, sorry. And the next question is, in the application phase, should communication and capitalization strategies be presented separately or should they be articulated together? Actually, they need to be presented together. And at least in the same work package, and where you have the possibility to describe them. So for capitalization, it will be under the activity, sorry, I'm just, yeah, for, so 4.1, no, 4.3 for capitalization. And for communication will be 4.1, but they will be under the same work package. Next question is it preferable to subcontract the branding and communication experts, not only for the visual identity, but to follow the whole project and take over the activities? There is no rule and specific guidance on that. It's really something that's it's up to you to define how you will deliver those communication activities. But we really recommend to have a person responsible for communication within the partnership, who is not like from an external company, but from an organization that is involved into the partnership directly. Then after, for the delivery and the implementation per se, obviously you can bring on board any experts or relevant companies or consultancies. Next question is, would it be welcome to articulate the communication and capitalization strategy? Yes, I mean, sorry, I should read the question entirely. So the question is about the articulation of the communication and capitalization strategies and activities with EU communities, but also New European Bauhaus community. Yes, I mean, indeed, it should also target those communities, and it would be very welcome. Next question is what the proportion of capitalization and dissemination activities organized by the MUA, notably with regard to what it's planned within the framework of the initiative. What the proportion? I mean, it's difficult for me to,
Is it compared to also what we have as activities, like capitalization, dissemination activities?
So
I guess that's maybe what the question is.
Yeah, it's if it's about like giving you an idea of your potential involvement into our capitalization activities, this is something which is kind of difficult for me to do today because it's very much dependent on the topics and also on the thematics on which we will capitalize and organize related activities. If it's about capitalization and dissemination activities that you are organizing as MUA, I mean, yeah, this question for me is quite difficult to answer. So
what we can say is that regardless of what the initiative will implement, because for now we don't really know, you have to make sure you have your own capitalization and dissemination activities.
You can have additional ones, but it's not an obligation per se.
I mean, that they will need to have something like dissemination, regardless the fact that we will have.
It's very much something to the contribution to our activities.
Exactly.
So sorry, I mean, if the answer to this question is not clear, feel free to come back to us via the info box, and we will provide you with more information.
Yeah, maybe we can go back to the presentation. Now, just as a quick reminder, and then we'll invite Camille to join us and tackle any other question. So you know that there is a call for proposal that is open at the moment. It was open in October and it will close on the 19th of January at 2 p.m. To give you a rough idea of the timeline, it means that in January, February, we'll be busy doing the eligibility check. We'll do the strategic assessment in March, April. Operational assessment is foreseen for like May, June 2023. So realistically, what we can tell you is that approved project will be announced around July 2023 this year. So this is just to give you an idea. And now we are going to welcome. I know first maybe one other question. If you still have your Slido, Camille, you can come and join us. If you have your Slido still open, what we would be interested in is knowing whether or not you know if you're going to submit a project proposal in the framework of this first call. So we've got one question, several answers: no or not this time. Yes, we're working on it and we have not started uploaded it in the EP, and yes, and our application form is nearly filled in. So not this time. Some people have started working on it, but have not started uploading it. That was, yeah. So actually no one in the meeting today has started uploaded the application form on the EP. That's a good thing, because this is exactly why we planned this question, because we really want to stress down that it is important that you start filling in the application form on the electronics platform, because it takes time and you don't want to end up in January rushing towards it and not having enough time to fill in all the boxes, all the tabs. So what we want to stress is like, don't wait until the last moment. So like start working on your application form before Christmas if possible, because then a lot of people are going to be away. So yeah, that was a bit the answers we were expecting, but yeah, just don't hesitate to start working on your application form. Right, so you can still ask your question in the Q&A, and we'll start answering them with our colleague Camille and Amelie. Okay. When will the second call for proposals? So I mean, I assume this is for someone who will not answer and will not submit a proposal in the second call, in the first call, sorry. So the second call should be launched towards the end of May 2023. We don't have the topics yet, we don't have the time frame, but this is more or less the idea in terms of planning.
And this will be announced normally at the Cities Forum. You will have more information with regard to the second call for innovative action.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll take the next questions, which is about funding and budget. Sorry, so the question is, the main urban authority will receive all the funding and will be responsible to distribute the funding among all the partners. That's correct, both to delivery and transfer partners. We really follow the principle of main urban authority, meaning that it really acts for us as a kind of lead partner. So all the funding and all the subsidy will go through the interested entity to the main urban authority. And then the main urban authority will be in charge of redistributing the budget to the delivery partners and to the transfer partners according to what is agreed in the partnership agreements.
Thank you, Kimi. So I'll take the next question, which is how deep the proposal needs to be in respect of the whole project design, and should it contain all the technical features, or it should focus on the explanation of the idea? So the question, I mean, on the platform, on the electronic exchange platform, you have a character limit. So you also need to be realistic in terms of to which extent you can detail your idea without the constraint that you have. I mean, so try to make sure that your ideas is like clear and concise, and that you really include the key elements, but like not go too much in detail. You also need to keep in mind that assessors who will be reading and assessing proposals, they have a limited time that they can spend on reading an application form. So make sure that your logic is clear, easy to follow, and it's like straight to the core. Should it contain all the technical features, or should it focus on the explanation of the idea? If you have any technical studies or environmental impact assessment that you have already done, what you can do is like provide them as annexes or add a link in your application form that can direct the assessors towards a PDF or another document. But yeah, just keep in mind you do have a character limit that basically will help you define to which level of detail you should go, because you can't really go over that.
I can take the next one. Could you please tell us when the letters of intent or partnership agreement are required? So basically, for what concerns the delivery partners, the partnership agreement will have to be signed between all project partners during the initiation phase. So during this phase, before the official start of the project implementation, this is a 6-month period during which we will work with you to make sure you're on track to start your project efficiently from an administrative, contractual, and readiness point of view. So that's when we will work with you to that extent, and when the project partner will be requested to sign the partnership agreement between them and define all the specific conditions according to which they will work and have their contractual relationship during the project. For what concerns the transfer partners, we do not expect them to sign this partnership agreement during this initiation phase. They will just need to provide letters of intent during that period, and later on, to kick off the transfer partner work package, they will be able, after during the start of the project implementation, to sign this partnership agreement with the partnership as such.
So the next question is, do the transfer cities have to make pilots as well? It's a very good question. So small pilots are eligible, but it's really not an obligation. So we don't expect this per se. We mostly expect that you prepare everything to make this and to replicate in a way the solution or part of the solutions afterwards. So we are not expecting small pilots, but they can be eligible.
So the next question is, how can we verify whether an idea is innovative outside of our country? So this is really important that you're able to demonstrate that your proposal is innovative, because this represents 30% of your final score during the assessment process. to do that, it's really important to do some benchmarking. So there are lots of different platforms that could be of use to check what has been funded across EU funds. For example, for everything related to Interreg, they have a platform called Keep. You've got lots of different, so you have to make your own research, assess like what has been done in the European Union that is on the same topic and how your challenge has been tackled, and then demonstrate that you're bringing something new to what has been done already in Europe.
Next question, can a major part of the project budget be allocated to a delivery partner that is a private company, for instance, an architect or a construction company? Yes, this is possible as such. That we don't have any prescription or restriction for what concerns the maximum threshold and amount of budget that you can allocate to specific partners in the project. What we will look at, however, is that the allocation of your budget according to the different project partners is proportionate to what they will deliver in the project as project activities. And also we'd like to emphasize that we are still looking for city-led project where the main urban authority has a strong involvement in commitment in the project. So that doesn't mean that the main urban authority must have the highest part of the budget, of course, but it's necessary to keep in mind that in any case, we will check that somehow the main urban authority has this city-led approach in delivering the project. But of course, that does not prevent some private company to have high budgeture if this is necessary to deliver some big part of the project.
Okay. So next question is how many applications are you expecting to fund? So the allocated budget for this call is 50 million euros. And we are and the maximum funding for innovative action projects is 5 million euros. So if I'm doing right the calculation, it means that we will fund about 10 projects for this call.
The next question we have is the ERDF amount allocated to a transfer partner 150,000 euro or 120,000 euros? So it depends. ERDF is 120,000 euros, but it means that the tech amount, what we call tech amount, is 150,000 euros. So that is maybe where the confusion is. But ERDF, 120,000 euros.
Yeah, because just to complement, that means as well that each transfer partner will have to secure its own contribution of 20% of its own budget. That's why we reached 150,000 euros total eligible cost.
Yeah.
I can turn to the next question. Is there an issue if the project's operational phase and delivery take a bit longer than 3.5 years? As such, I would say yes, this is an issue because with innovative actions project, we are really looking for testing concrete solutions. So we need to test the solution as a whole, and we also need to have a bit of time during the project implementation phase to test and evaluate how the solution works in practice. So basically, the experimentation, the pilot should last for 3 years, and the remaining half a year will be used for evaluation activity of the proposed solution.
The next question is about communication and how a com strategy looks like, and how and if a complete strategy can be imagined on your, on the main urban authority's own. The answer is yes. I mean, you need to elaborate fully the com strategy. There is no specific provision of any template or guidance to follow for developing the strategy. It's really also, and it should be really in line with your project objectives and what you are implementing on the ground. So you need to elaborate this com strategy. It's important also to have in mind that when the projects are selected, we will also provide a training for the main urban authorities, and during this training we will provide you with more guidance on what we are expecting with regard to communication and with regard to this strategy per se. But the strategy is not to be fully developed for the application at the application stage. This is what you need to keep in mind. The
next question, could a self-employed person take part in the project as a delivery partner? As a delivery partner as such, no, it could take part to the project being as a staff, but this rule really depends on the national regulation. So in that case, I would recommend the person who has the question to contact us on our info box to provide you with a more detailed answer depending on your national context.
The next question was the name of the platform that I think I mentioned when I had the question on the benchmarking. So it's like keep.eu, I think it's .eu, but so it regroups all Interreg projects that have been funding. But what you can also do is browse through other funding programs like UIA, so our predecessor, but also maybe URBACT, or like try to have a look at what has been done that has been funded by European programs, but also you can have a look beyond this like circle when doing your benchmarking. And there's a question on maybe transfer partners' involvement that I can take. When do they start to be involved in the project? So it depends what you're talking about. If it's in the project activities, like in the delivery of the transfer activities, it's like 1 year after the start of the implementation phase. However, during this first 12 months, they can be involved in defining what your transfer work package will be about. So yeah, you can, I mean, as soon as you know who they are, it's good to involve them in reflecting on what you're going to do and how you're going to develop your transfer work package. Can transfer partners use some of its budget to subcontract? Yes, it is possible to do this. Again, there is a limited budget. It's a bit like the question that Amelie had on, is it possible to implement small pilot? It is possible. Just make sure that you propose something that is realistic within the framework of your allocated budget. But yes, it is possible to have external expertise to do like small environmental impact assessment, legal advice, anything that can help to prepare the implementation of and prepare the transfer of the innovative solution. I think there is it an issue? Who wants to?
Is there an issue with applying to this first call for initiative and to other one later in case we are not selected? So it's not an issue as such. I mean, if you are applying to this one and not selected, you are totally free to reply to next call.
What you cannot do is apply twice within the framework of the same call, but of course it's possible to apply under different calls. And actually, because this topic, New European Bauhaus, is not going to be, it's very unlikely going to be in another call. You don't also have the risk of having it as a topic of another call, because you can't, if, for example, if we had a first call on housing, and that housing was also part of the third call, for example, you're also not able to be funded twice under the same topic. But it won't happen, it won't be the case with New European Bauhaus. So even if you're selected or not selected, you will be able to apply for other calls.
The next question is, how many delivery partners do you recommend to work with? We don't have any specific requirement in that respect. What we will look at in the assessment of your project is whether or not the delivery partner you are proposing are relevant to address all the different dimensions of your project and will able to deliver the proposed solution that we have. So we will look at this coherence of if you have selected the right and relevant partner to deliver this specific solution. However, our recommendation is maybe not to exceed 10 project partners, because from experience, we realize that above these 10 project partners involved in the project, it becomes a bit difficult in terms of project management and efficiency of the flow of communication between partners. So it's not an obligation. I mean, if you find 11 or 12 relevant partners, that's fine with us, but it's just a general recommendation that it might be easier to work with a partnership of maximum 10 partners.
I can take the next one. Still regarding the benchmarking, should we provide any proof that we have done the benchmarking or just describe where we looked? I think what you really need to indicate in your application form is like the conclusions of your benchmarking. So this is what has been done in Europe. This is how they address the challenge. But for us, we believe that we need to further develop the project in that direction. This is what we're going to add on and bring to the field that hasn't been tested across Europe. So it's not really just say, oh, I did my benchmark and these are the platform I looked at. It's also, this is the existing initiative, the existing project, the existing ways of working that we found, and we want to go beyond, and this is what we're proposing that hasn't been tested to justify your the added value of your proposal. So we won't pay attention to this, you know, where you looked or the fact that you did your benchmarking. It's real. What we are interested in is the conclusions of this exercise.
Next question, are agency related to main urban authority counted as a delivery partners? This is a bit up to you to decide. In that case, when you have in-house agency, depending on the municipality, either you can choose to have them directly including in the main urban authority as such and delivering some activities on behalf of the main urban authority in the project, or if they have a major and significant contribution to the project, you could involve them as delivery partners, as standalone delivery partner in the partnership. Just please remind that in case you go for the first option, meaning that you have an in-house agency working, including in the main urban authority in the application form, it's only possible if it does not exceed half of the project budget of the municipality. If this agency foresee more than 50% of the municipality's budget, then it's better to have it included as a standalone delivery partner.
The next question is about the transfer partners. So is it expected for the applicants to have begun to use the transfer platform before applying? The answer is no. I mean, this transfer platform, I mean, the platform for it's a tool that we are putting at your disposal to really ease, you know, the identifications, and also to start initiating the discussion between potential and with potential partners. So I think it's interesting if you post, you know, your project IDs and also beyond your project IDs, you know, the type of urban areas you are looking for and the type of challenge you want to tackle with the innovative solution to ease the identification of the partner. But it's really a tool that we are providing to you, and there is no obligation to use it as such for the applicants.
Then we have a question on the topic of the call. So the new European Bauhaus has also been divided into 4 themes that are mentioned in the terms of reference. And the question is, should we focus only on one of the theme, or can a proposal cover more than one? So what you need to do, your proposal really needs to be in line with the principles of new European Bauhaus. And these principles are sustainability, inclusiveness, and aesthetics. And this is what we're going to be looking at. The 4 themes are just an indication of how these principles can be applied to the field, the urban field. So there are 4 of them, like circular building, urban regeneration, housing, affordable and social housing, and we're forgetting another one. That's fine. But basically, you don't have to be fitting exactly into one of the 4 themes. They are indicative. You can also propose something that is kind of covering different elements of the different themes. This is not a problem. But what you really need to make sure is that you are in line with the new European Bauhaus principles. These are more like guiding themes to make it more specific and easier to understand for cities. And I think, I mean, the themes were proposed by the Commission, and they really did an exercise to understand what are the key challenges that are faced by European cities and how they can be addressed with the principles of the new European Bauhaus. And yeah, Emily just told me that the 4th theme that we were missing is about preservation of cultural heritage. So here we've got the 4 now.
Next question, is there any specific assessment mandatory to select project partners? The answer is no. What we are expecting from you is that you are selecting your project partners in respect of the principle of transparency and equal treatment. So that's the general assumption, but then it's really up to you to choose your project partners depending on what is necessary to deliver your project activities, knowing that in some national contexts imposed by regulation, you have some specific procedures to comply with, such as call for interest or so on. So maybe check with your national regulations, but at our level, we'll just make sure that you ensure this principle of transparency and equal treatment and that your partner are relevant to deliver the project. We have now other questions regarding to infrastructure and investment. Asking whether or not there is a maximum percentage for subcontracting. We don't have any limitation in that respect. I get that in that case we will have quite a big budget for external expertise and services. This is fine as long as it's proportionate and to your project activities and justified for us why this kind of activity cannot be carried out, for instance, by the project partners themselves.
Okay, so on transfer. So when selecting the transfer partners, site visits will be needed. Which work package could cover these costs? There is no need to have a site visit before selecting the transfer partners. I mean, I think this is definitely things that can be done through like online meetings or phone calls. If you really feel like you have to do it, maybe under management work package, but this is not something that is expected of you. During the implementation of your transfer work package, of course, every travel and accommodation cost can be claimed within the work package.
Next question. We are a civic organization focusing on political education and have a network of different partners, economic, civil, education partners. Is the network also eligible for funding? So to be a project partner, the main and only requirement is really to have, for this entity to have a legal personality. So if this network has a legal personality, then it can be one of the project partners.
The next question is, can transfer partners be from a country outside of the EU, like Albania? The answer is no. The transfer partners need to be from EU member states.
This is true for any kind of partner organization that has to benefit from EU funding. You need to be located within the EU. Right, yes, we will share the presentation, and as we said, we're also recording this online Q&A, so we'll share the video on the same YouTube channel where you can already find the recording from the first 2 online Q&A. So you'll have the 3 there to look back to. Let's see if you don't hesitate to ask any question. We're coming towards the end of our presentation. I don't know if, looking at my colleagues, if we have more questions. In any case, if you feel that we missed yours or we didn't clearly answer your question, don't hesitate to send an email to the info mailbox. We'll put the the email address on the presentation, on the slides after. Maybe one other question? We can. Beside the transfer partners, can we include delivery partners from different countries? It is possible. I mean, you can do so, but the idea of UIA, EUI partnership is to have like a really local partnerships. So it really depends of what you're working on and if it's logical and relevant. We've had the experience in the past of like cities who try to involve someone like an organization from another member state. Of course, I mean, COVID happened, so I think cooperation was not as expected, but I mean, it really depends of the context. There's nothing that prevents you from doing it, but it just needs to be justified. Then people ask the link of the platform for potential transfer partners. We can share the link. Otherwise, if you go on the website, which is urbaninnovation.eu, then go and look for funding, which is the section related to the call for proposal, and then you will be able to find the link of the transfer partner platform. What is the number? Okay, now we have another question. My colleague will note it down about whether partners should have a specific number. I guess this is something linked to administration management. We'll come back to this by email because it's very specific. Okay, maybe we can, another one, last one, and then we'll put back the slides. So I think the question is if we should more focus on basically if the project should be scaled up within the municipality or transferred to other cities in Europe, and what is the balance between the two? I mean, both are equally important. We need to also make sure that your project will be durable, that it will have a sustainable impact beyond the end date of your project. And of course, now that we've got this transfer element that is embedded within your proposal, like it is also key that you spend time and energy on ensuring the transferability of your project. So there is no specific rule, both are important. I think now that we have like a clear transfer work package, maybe this will take a bit more importance, but I mean, it is also key that you think about your sustainability after the end date of your project when the funding stops, and also how within your municipality it can be scaled up and made durable. I think we'll stop here for the questions. We will put back the presentation and we'll share the link, the email address, sorry, for the, if you have any other questions. Some key documents that we wanted to mention that we talked about during the presentation. The first one, the terms of reference for the call. This is where you'll find all the information very specific to the first call for proposal and information on the topic of the new European Bauhaus. We also have a working document, a courtesy document for the application form, which is a Word. Use it to prepare your application form, but don't forget to start working also on the electronic exchange platform and upload your project. We have two guidances that you can refer to. The UIA Innovative Action Guidance that has all the rules, like we've got like many of them here today with us. It's like basically the Bible with all the information you can find on the implementation of your project and the development of your application form. You also have the EEP Technical Guidance that will help you to upload your project in the platform, and we'll say it again, don't wait until the last moment. You also have in the EEP a lot of information bubbles that you can click on that really tells you what to indicate into which box. So it would be also a shame not to make use of this information that is on the platform. We've got the new Leipzig Charter, which is the basis of basically the theory of what projects should aim at in terms of integrated participatory planning, etc. So have a look at this document, which is key for us. The correspondence table, this is a document, we didn't really mention it, but it's basically to check the eligibility of the main urban authority to apply within the call. So this is a topic that was covered in the first online Q&A. So have a look at this one if you have doubts on whether your main urban authority is eligible or not. And finally, the platform that we talked about, the transfer partner platform that is available online, and then the link will be also provided. So yeah, any question we could not answer today, don't hesitate to email at the info mailbox, and we'll make sure to get back to those. We also have like an online frequently asked question that you can browse through to see if people have asked similar question that can be of interest for you. I don't know if I forgot anything. Yeah. Well, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Kimmy, for your help today, and thank you also to the guys that you're not seeing on the screen, but who have been very helpful. One is Laurent and Nicolas for today's session. And yes, see you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And if you have any suggestion or input, don't hesitate to tell us how you found the session today.